But because it was our centennial, I made a different choice. I wanted to have a video about us, the White House correspondents. Unfortunately, I had a grand vision to do a lot, and I found out it was going to be a little more expensive than I had hoped, and it was going to take a lot of money out of our scholarship fund. Well, we didn't want to do that. Fortunately, in walked a woman from the A&E network, eager to talk to us about our scholarships, and we talked to her, and we met with her, and I found it very interesting. But at the end of it, I said, "You own the History Channel." And so I asked them if they would do a video about our Correspondents Association and the history of the presidency and the press, and they were very kind to do it. And now I'd like to show you that video.
Thomas Jefferson once said, "A government without a tough and vibrant media of all sorts is not an option for the United States of America."
They are the watchdogs, the historians, the daily observers of the White House, an unofficial assembly of journalists assigned to watch with clear eyes and break news. They are the White House Correspondents Association.
Have you got an extra camera in case the lights go out?
The sound okay, volume right, all that?
The Founding Fathers wrote this job into the Constitution. Freedom of the press is in there for a reason.
While I've been having a wonderful time, I gather also that both houses of Congress have been having a wonderful time.
I think the enduring principle remains that we exist and we work to keep the eyes of a free press on the government and on the president.
Sometimes you don't like the decisions I make, and sometimes I don't like the way you write about the decisions.
Our role is very much on the ground. I view the association as basically the shop steward for correspondents. You're there to help them do their job.
We deal with a lot of logistics. We're the ones working on who has a seat in the briefing room, who's in the press pool at the Oval Office, in the motorcade, the plane.
That's beautiful. See the hot tub?
One of the great things about our job is being there when history is being made.
The evolution of the presidency has gone hand in hand with the evolution of the White House Press Association and the relationship of the press to politics. The White House correspondents perform a vital service in letting folks know what the White House is all about.
Did you make a mistake in sending arms to Tehran, sir?
No, and I'm not taking any more questions.
I always try to put myself in their position. They had a difficult job to do, and they needed a new story every day. And if I didn't give them one, they'd have one anyway, and sometimes it'd be one I didn't like, but it was all part of the deal.
With every president, the relationship is constantly changing. But there is an unchanging quest for the Correspondents Association, and it's a simple word: access.
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 We have to continue to press for those doors and windows to remain open so you can see the account of history from an unbiased view.
We're not through this period where there's a great contest between people who believe in the free exchange of ideas and the freedom of the press and the freedom to argue back. We can't go back to a more polarized world where somebody can put the hammer down and this is the way it's going to be and you can't say anything differently. If you try to, I'll cut you off or put you in jail.
People have to be informed, or otherwise they're not going to support their government.
What's the matter with these clowns?
There's always going to be governments that try to be a little bit more insulated. It's important to put on that.
The Correspondents Association is a good forum for reminding all reporters that they also work for the public, that they also have a responsibility to the American people.
Press is an institutional part of the White House, and it should always be an institutional part. Every government needs a watchdog.
We never win, we never lose. It's just a constant struggle.
My best moment here is when my press conference ended.
Like so many of the struggles inside the Beltway, this one started as a turf battle in 1914 on Capitol Hill.
All the press conferences in those days were dominated by the violence in Mexico, the Mexican Revolution. There was no controls on who attended those press conferences. And the Standing Committee of Correspondence in Congress tried to move in on the White House.
They wanted to become the one that would help President Woodrow Wilson start having regular press conferences and selecting who would attend.
A select group of journalists of White House Correspondents Association was formed.
Looking back 100 years and seeing the pictures and hearing the history, it's amazing how things have evolved. The organization was started by a group of white men, not women, not minorities, a group of white men.
It was Franklin Roosevelt who was the first president to allow a black White House correspondent into a presidential press conference.
In February 1944, journalist Harry McAlpin broke down the barriers of inequality, becoming the first African-American White House correspondent. And it's in his honor that the Correspondents Association has established the Harry S. McAlpin Jr. Scholarship for young and aspiring journalists.
We always had women members, and we had women in the press conferences and on the beat, but we wouldn't let them attend our dinner. The general attitude was that this was a stag event. This was for men only. It was a little too bawdy for women.
It was this sense that women journalists almost didn't belong. They weren't part of the boys' club.
It wasn't until 3 women reporters, including Helen Thomas in 1962, went to John F. Kennedy and said, "We'd like you to help us get into this dinner."
Kennedy sent a simple message. Tell them I'm not attending the dinner next year unless women are allowed to attend. All of a sudden it changed.
And how did it change?
We do nothing but body jokes now.
3 Hillarys. That sounds like President Clinton's worst nightmare.
And while 99% of the correspondent's job is working the beat, there is one night a year when Sirius Washington can make fun of itself, the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
We started the dinner in the 20s.
They've done this before?
Of course, it wasn't televised, and it didn't have Hollywood celebrities. We did have entertainers. We'd have animal acts or jugglers.
You're not going to be able to top that.
There have been somebody doing, and I wish I were there, animal impressions.
Now we have one entertainer, the President Association fixed entertainer. I was toying with the idea of having a juggler.
Doesn't get much more exciting than that.
And what is the key to navigating the icy and sometimes treacherous waters of Washington humor?
I'm going to wing it. Winging it. Improvise a lot. Just see what happens.
There's basically 3 models. One is people who do the politics and get it right. That's rare.
Was there anyone that I'm excited to roast tonight? Well, if Putin's there, that'll be a real big deal.
People who try to do the politics and get it wrong, that's painful.
Boy, I could say something really dirty, but I probably shouldn't.
And then there's people who just avoid the politics like the plague.
I'm not a political comedian.
Am I a political guy? Yes, I am definitely into politics. That's why I work at the E! Network.
Washington comedy is unlike any other comedy. You're supposed to keep it clean. You're supposed to keep it self-deprecating.
In 1945, you had Frank Sinatra, Danny Thomas, Jimmy Durante, Fanny Brice. This year, it's me.
Did you know that the president will be there?
Yeah, the president will be there.
Of the United States.
Yeah, and not only that, he's opening for you.
And it's not only the place for an entertainer to shine. It's the place where a president can bring down the house, giving as good as he gets.
Known as the prom of Washington, D.C., a term coined by political reporters who clearly never had the chance to go to an actual prom.
Presidents will immediately think, well, this is a chance to make fun of the press.
This just goes with the territory.
That's not what you do. You go make fun of yourself. You got to show them you can take it.
It's not easy to do stand-up comedy at one of these dinners. I thought they were fun. I look forward to them.
Jay Leno's here. Together, we give hope to gray-haired, chunky baby boomers everywhere.
We don't want people insulted. We want people to be teased. God knows Washington can use a little teasing.
But don't make fun of the press because they can't take it. They're thin-skinned and they don't want to hear it.
Laughter aside, the first and foremost mission of the Correspondents Association dinner is to promote journalism education through the Scholarship Fund.
Your attendance tonight allows us to give back to these students. We appreciate it.
As this dinner has grown and grown over the years, it's actually generated more revenue for this very important scholarship.
Obviously, the main reason we're there is for the scholarships and to help these young people. They're all remarkable, talented folks full of energy and the kind of people that you want to see going into journalism.
We want to welcome Curtis McLeod
Having something like a scholarship, it gives them hope to say, wow, there is a resource for me, there is something I can go to.
The WHCA really provided such an unforgettable experience for me. It was such a tremendous honor, and I'm really thankful to them for the scholarship and for that experience.
There's still a future in journalism. It's going through a lot of changes, but there's still to cover the White House and the government.
I hope it'll be around for another 100 years. I think the dinner has probably done a lot more good than people think.
Whether it's Twitter or the typewriter, the Correspondents Association continues to deliver its message, covering the White House, standing sentry, sending out the news in an ever-changing media landscape.
Year in, year out, we've dealt with a lot of changes on this beat. We've seen the start of radio. We've seen the advent of television and press conferences, first by Eisenhower, then by John F. Kennedy. We've seen the advent of the internet as a tool in the Clinton years.
The White House had a telephone system that had been there since President Carter. Hello, what do you want?
Now we've seen social media. That's exploded in the last 4 or 5 years.
Well, one thing I often like to say is that speed kills, because we just are racing faster and faster to get raw information in front of the public.
Has created a situation where reporters are under such stress and pressure from their editors to get it fast, get it first. Reporters can't pause. Reporters can't wait. They can't digest anymore. They can't be as thorough as they used to be.
But from the point of view of the reader, the main thing is it accurate?
Now we're dealing with multiple time zones. Everything is in real time, and we're all working faster trying to produce more. The questions we ask are still the same.
I think it's important that there's a hodgepodge of voices of reporters here, because it's not just all about that one story. It's about various stories around the world and in this nation, and that brings together this one group.
I hope that 100 years from now, when we're celebrating the next anniversary of our association, we'll still have a room here at the White House with people asking the president or his staff questions every day and then explaining it to people. The dissemination of the news will change, the media will change, but I think the journalism will not change. This is a great window on the world.
What's absolutely clear is that our democracy doesn't work unless we've got a strong fourth estate. If you don't have that interaction, then you don't really have a true democracy. Even if I don't always admit it, I appreciate that they're there.